We will now call the business session of September 17, 2024 to order at 6:13 p.m. Sorry we run a little bit late today. We had executive session run a little bit long. All council members are present today. Fantastic. First item of business is Pledge of Allegiance, so please join us up here for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item of business to consider is the minutes of the August 27th, 2024 and September 3rd, 2024 special city council meetings and the September 3rd, 2024 regular session city council meeting. These minutes were provided in your meeting packet. Are there any corrections? There being no corrections, the minutes stand as approved and as submitted. The next item to consider is public hearing 2024-707. Director Peters.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution granting a special permit to Shannon Malberg for a short-term rental type 1 in R1B zoning district on property described as Lot A, Block 17 of the Provident Addition, known as 1312 North 22nd Street. By a vote of 8-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of the request based on the following findings and conditions. That the proposed use is consistent with the comprehensive plan and purposes and intent of Chapter 28 zoning of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Waco. That the proposed use is compatible with the appropriate and orderly development of the area which is located. That the proposed use would be not more objectionable to neighboring properties because of traffic congestion, noise, fumes, vibrations, or any other characteristic than any use permitted in the zoning district without the grant of the special exception. And that available community facilities and services, including the road system providing access to the proposed use, are adequate for the proposed use.
Are there any questions for staff? I'll now open a public hearing for comments. Is anyone present who'd like to speak regarding this item? Seeing no speakers, will close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
I hear a motion and a second. Any discussion? There being none, please poll the council.
Bearfield,
Yes.
Rodriguez, Ewing,
Yes.
Borderood,
Yes.
Chase,
Yes.
Holmes.
That resolution aye. That resolution passes. The next item to consider is public hearing 2024-708. Clint?
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution approving a final plan unit development plan called Gas Station-C Store on property being approximately 2.19 acre tract of the El Marble Survey, abstract number 580, McLennan County, Texas, being a part of the call 21.544 acre tract, a remainder tract described in a deed to LG Callan LLC, recorded in instrument number 2016-03-2579 in official public records of McLennan County, Texas, and being a part of Lot 9, Block 1 of the Callan Village Edition, Phase 1C, recorded under instrument number 2018-04-1310 on official public records of McLennan County, Texas, known as 2225 Ritchie Road. By a vote of 8-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of the final PUD based on the following findings and conditions. That the final PUD plan is consistent with the approved concept PUD plan, conditions of the approved concept PUD plan, and the requirements of the PUD ordinance. The circulation plan, public facility and service plan, preliminary architectural plan, and site development and landscaping plans included in the final PUD are adequate. We do have 7 conditions. 1, access to Callan Boulevard shall be limited to a single driveway. At time of development, the location and operation of this driveway shall be coordinated with the city's traffic department with the goal of minimizing U-turns on Callan Drive and providing cross-access with the remainder of the tract to the west of the site. Adjustments to the Callan Boulevard median will be considered by staff to achieve these goals. 2, the facade of the proposed building shall incorporate similar materials, including stone and brick, to match those using the new City Fire Station 15 located at the intersection of Ritchie Road and Panther Way. 3, the store's hours of operation shall be limited to 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. 4, fume-reducing nozzles shall be installed at each gas pump. 5, boundary landscaping shall be installed along Ritchie Road and Callan Boulevard. Frontages in accordance with Section 218C of the zoning ordinance. 6, screening shall be installed along the rear property line in accordance with Section 28219 and shall include a mix of shrubs, trees, and fencing consistent with the requirement of the section. And 7, all site lighting shall be designed to minimize light pollution by being oriented to shine downward and away from the adjacent residential developments. A photometric plan shall be provided at time of development to ensure this condition is met.
Are there any questions for Clint and staff? There are none, but I will now open a public hearing for comments. Is anyone present who would like to speak regarding this item? I see no speakers. We'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Mayor, I'd like to move for approval based on the findings and conditions approved by the Plan Commission.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I'll just mention that I like how the parties work together on this and figuring out a good solution on facade, hours, the screening and lighting. It seems like we have a good result here, and I appreciate staff's help on this one. Please poll the council.
Yes.
Rodriguez. Ewing.
Yes.
Borderood.
Yes.
Chase.
Yes.
Holmes.
Aye. That resolution passes. The next item to consider is public hearing 2024-709.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance of the City of Waco, Texas, providing the comprehensive plan be amended to change the land use designation from office industrial flex and open space to office industrial flex on property containing approximately 11.376 acres of land situated in the Thomas de la Vega Survey Abstract Number 43, McLennan County, Texas, being a portion of Lot 1, Block 1 of the Golson 35 addition, in addition to the City of Waco, McLennan County, Texas, according to the plat thereof recorded in document number 2023-00-1664, the plat records of McLennan County, Texas, known as portion of 1402 Golson Road, providing that the code and ordinances be amended by revising section 28-247 and chapter 28 zoning of the code, providing that the zoning map shall be changed so that certain property described above shall be changed from R3B to C2 district classification, providing for penalties, providing a savings clause, and providing severability clause, and finally determining the meeting which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. By a vote of 8-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of land use change based on the following findings. The public infrastructure is adequate to provide for zoning districts allowed in the proposed land use designation. Office industrial flex land use designation is consistent with the surrounding land use and other area properties that are already designated. And then for the zoning, the findings are the proposed zoning is keeping with the land use component as comprehensive plans revised. The public infrastructure is generally adequate to provide for uses allowed in C2 zoning district. The property meets all the area and width requirements for C2 zoning, and the proposed C2 zoning is compatible with the surrounding area uses.
Are there any questions for Director Peters? I'll now open a public hearing for comments. Is anyone present who would like to speak regarding this item? You do look familiar, but please state your name and address for the record.
Myself, to this great group of people who seem to be running very mature,
Somebody put him on a timer.
clear.
I was like Michelle, turn the box on.
I'm coming from football practice, that's why I'm dressed casually. I apologize, Councilmember Holmes. I know you like a formal meeting. I'm just here. I kind of feel like that college kid who comes back to a high school pep rally, so I apologize. But just here if y'all have any questions on this item.
I don't know what that says about, is this the high school, are we the high schoolers in this scenario? Questions? I don't know if any other council members had any questions, reservations, thoughts from constituents.
This is in District 1, and I think that the proposed use for this particular plot of land is incredibly in line with the directive and directions of our community, especially speaking to food insecurity. And so I think that this is as we know, most of all of the food that comes into Waco from the food banks come in from Austin. And this would allow a greater footprint, certainly of faster service for Wacoans properly, but then able to assist our neighboring counties as well. So I think that I'm absolutely in support of this particular entity.
This is going to be a great project. I appreciate members of staff and council for their work to get us to this point. And in sincerity, it's a real honor to see everybody, and I really appreciate all that you guys do. Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Just to note that he looks younger, he looks better looking, if that's possible, and just the weight of the world seems to be lifted off his shoulders.
Is there anyone else present who'd like to speak regarding this item? There being none, we will close the public hearing. Do I hear a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Bearfield. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Ewing. Borderood. Chase.
Yes.
Holmes.
Aye, that ordinance passes. The next item to consider is public hearing 2024-710.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance of the City of Waco, providing that the Code of Ordinances be amended by revising Section 28-247 and Chapter 28 zoning of the code, providing that zoning map shall be changed to a certain property describes approximately 1.35 acres of land described as all of Block B of the O.J. Scudder tract known as 3001 MacArthur Drive, shall be changed from R2 district classification to become and be designated in the O3 district classification. Providing for penalties, providing a saving clause, providing a severability clause, and finding determined the meeting in which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. By a vote of 5 to 3, the Plan Commission recommended disapproval of the request to change the zoning based on the following findings. The existing R2 zoning is more compatible with the existing single-family neighborhood and the two-family zone property that's in the proposed O3 zoning. And while MacArthur is classified as an arterial street, the property fronts on 32nd Street, Fadal, and McFerrin Avenues, which are all classified as local and collector streets. There is an existing vacant commercial southeast of the subject property along MacArthur would permit many of the uses permitted in O3 zoning. And the existing road network and adjacent residential uses will limit the locations and quantity of approved drive accesses to the parcel necessary to accommodate allowed uses within O3 zoning district. Pursuant to state law and zoning ordinance, if an application fails to receive a favorable report and recommendation by the commission, it shall not be approved except by a 3/4 vote of all members of council. In this case, Plan Commission did recommend disapproval, therefore 3/4 of city council will need to vote is required for approval of the request.
Are there any questions of Director Peters?
Just to recap that, to approve this, a supermajority is needed, 5 votes. To disapprove, just the normal 4 votes.
That's correct.
Is that correct?
Yep.
Any other questions for Director Peters? I'll now open a public hearing for comments. Is anyone present who'd like to speak regarding this item? Seeing no speakers, we'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion to disapprove?
Move for disapproval.
We have a motion and a second to disapprove. Any discussion?
Yeah, I just want to call out, I reside in the neighborhood that this lot is in. I've spoken with the neighborhood association president and other neighbors of my own about this, and I think that the neighborhood is very much open to a light commercial use taking place here, but want, as Councilwoman Bearfield pointed out earlier, to be invited on that process in terms of having a knowledge of what that will be, and without that, it is the will of the neighborhood, and therefore, incentivizes me to vote in disapproval of this. So,
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Any other discussion? Please poll the council.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Ewing.
yes.
Borderood. Chase. Holmes.
Aye, that ordinance passes on first reading. The next item to consider is public hearing 2024-711.
Members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance of the City of Waco, Texas, providing that the comprehensive plan be amended to change the land use designation from industrial to mixed-use flex on property containing approximately 3.067 acres of land situated in the Carlos Ocampo Grant in the City of Waco, McLennan County, Texas, being a portion of MoCo Properties LLC, recorded in warranty deed with vendor's instrument number 2014 018-541 of the deed records of McLennan County, Texas, also being a portion of Lot 2, Block 1, the South 12th Edition, recorded instrument number 2010-03-7231 of the deed records of McLennan County, Texas, known as a portion of 2003 South Loop 340, providing that the Code of Ordinances be amended by revising Section 28-247 and Chapter 28 zoning of the code, providing that the zoning map shall be changed so that the property described above shall be changed from R1B to C2 district classification, providing for penalties, providing a saving clause, providing a severability clause, and finding determined immediate which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. By a vote of 8-0, Plan Commission recommended approval. Land use designation change based on the following findings. The public infrastructure is adequate to provide for zoning districts allowed in proposed mixed-use flex land use designation. To the proposed mixed-use flex land use will provide services to existing industrial uses in future areas area uses anticipated after the 12th Street expansion, and the property is located at the intersection of two major streets. Plan Commission also recommended the zoning. Based on the following findings, proposed zoning is keeping with the land use component of the comprehensive plan as revised. The public infrastructure is generally adequate to provide for uses allowed in C2 zoning. The property meets all the area and width requirements for C2 zoning, and the proposed C2 zoning is compatible with the existing surrounding area uses and future area uses anticipated with the street expansion.
Are there any questions for Director Peters? I will now open a public hearing for comments. Is anyone present who would like to speak regarding this item? Seeing no speakers, we'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Second, any discussion on this item? Please poll the council.
Field,
Yes.
Aye.
Ewing,
Yes.
Borderood,
Yes.
Chase,
Yes.
Holmes.
Aye, that ordinance passes on first reading. The next item to consider is public hearing 2024-712. Director Peters.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance of the city of Waco, Texas, providing that the comprehensive plan be amended to change the land use designation from urban residential to industrial on property containing approximately .334 acres of land described as lots A and B, Block 1, the JV Smith Edition, known as 1520 and 1524 Webster Avenue, providing the Code of Ordinances be amended by revising Section 28-247 and Chapter 28 zoning of the code, providing that the zoning map shall be changed so that the property described above shall be changed from R2 to M2. District classification, providing for penalties, providing a savings clause, providing a severability clause, and finally determining the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. By a vote of 8-0, Plan Commission recommended disapproval based on the following findings. For the land use, the proposed land use could be considered incompatible with the existing low-density residential land use designations adjacent to the subject property, and the existing streets are not adequate for industrial uses. Disapproval for zoning are based on the following findings. One, the proposed zoning is not keeping with the land use component of the comprehensive plan. Two, the area has been transitioning from industrial to residential uses over the past 2 decades. Three, the lot size does not meet the industrial lot size requirement. 4, the property is located on a street not meant for industrial uses. 5, M2 zoning is not compatible with existing residential uses. And 6, the property was rezoned in 2019 to R2 at the request of the property owners, which brought the property into conformance with the comprehensive plan. Pursuant to state law and zoning ordinance, if the application fails to receive a favorable report and recommendation by the commission, it shall not be approved, except by a 3/4 vote of members of council. Similar as to the previous case, the Plan Commission recommended disapproval. Therefore, a 3/4 city council vote is required for approval of this request.
Are there any questions for Director Peters? I will now open a public hearing for comments. Is anyone present who'd like to speak regarding this item? Seeing no speakers, we'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion to disapprove?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to disapprove. Any further discussion? There being none, please poll the council.
Yes.
Aye.
Ewing,
Yes.
Borderood,
Yes.
Chase,
Yes.
Holmes.
Aye, that ordinance passes on first reading. The next item to consider is the consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of resolutions 2024-713 through 2024-764. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Move for approval on the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Please poll the council.
Aye.
Borderood, Chase,
Yes.
Holmes.
Aye, those resolutions all pass. The next item on the agenda is ordinance 2024-765. City Attorney Perdon.
Ordinance of the City of Waco, Texas, approving and adopting the updated service plan for the Waco Tourism Public Improvement District, TPID, for fiscal year 2024-2025, levying special assessments on properties in the Waco TPID to pay the costs of services provided in accordance with the updated service plan, setting charges and liens against property in the TPID and against the owners thereof, providing for the collection of the special assessments, providing for a savings clause, providing for an effective date, and finding and determining that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. This ordinance was approved by 6-0 council vote on first reading on September 3rd, 2024.
Is there a motion?
For approval on second reading.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion. Please poll the council.
Bearfield. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Ewing. Porterud. Chase. Holmes.
Aye, that ordinance passes on second reading. The next item to consider is ordinance 2024-766.
Approving and adopting a service plan and assessment plan for Waco Public Improvement District Number 1, including the annual budget and assessment role for providing improvements and/or services for fiscal year 2024-2025, making provisions for the levying of assessments against property in this district and the owners thereof, fixing charges and liens against property in the district and the owners thereof, providing for the collection of such assessments, enacting other provisions related thereto, reserving unto the City Council the authority to reduce such assessments based on credits established by City Council, directing that all required procedures be followed in accordance with Chapter 372 of the Local Government Code, providing for a savings clause, providing for an effective date, and finding and determining that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. This ordinance was approved by 6-0 council vote on first reading on September 3rd, 2024.
Is there a motion?
For approval on second reading?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Bearfield. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Ewing. Porterud. Chase.
Yes.
Holmes.
Aye, that ordinance passes on second reading. The next item to consider is ordinance 2024-767. City Attorney Perdon.
Ordinance repealing ordinance numbers 2023-625 and 2023-1068 and amending Chapter 22, Streets, Sidewalks, and Certain Other Public Places of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Waco, Texas, by adding a new Article 7 entitled Street Maintenance Fee, providing for definitions, making certain findings, providing for creation of a street maintenance special revenue fund, providing for administration of this Article 7, establishing a street maintenance fee, providing for calculation of fees, providing for billing of street maintenance fee and penalties and remedies for non-payment, providing for an appeal and hearing process, providing for exemption, providing for no waiver of immunity, providing for discontinuation of street maintenance fee, providing a severability clause, providing a savings clause, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for an effective date, and finding and determining that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. This ordinance was approved by 6-0 council vote on first reading on September 3rd, 2024.
Is there a motion?
Move for approval on second reading.
Second, any discussion?
I just want to say, I know this has been a long time coming, and staff has put a lot of work into getting us to this point and retooling it so that it was rolled out well and made sure that our everyday ratepayers weren't taking a big kick on this, and that our commercial ratepayers had opportunities, if they felt they were being unfairly charged with this, to follow through an appeals process and get that reduced. So I'm very thankful to staff for really putting a lot of time and effort into making sure this was done thoughtfully and in a way that allowed us to not in as much of a financial way move towards the goals that we'd initially thought, but still make a dent and improving our city and improving our streets. So,
Thank you, Mr. Ewing. Any further discussion? Please poll the council.
Bearfield. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Ewing. Porterud. Chase.
Yes.
Holmes.
That ordinance passes on second reading. The next item to consider is ordinance 2024-768. City Attorney Perdon.
City Council of the City of Waco, Texas, approving a negotiated settlement between the Atmos City Steering Committee, ACSC, and Atmos Energy Corp. Midtex Division regarding the company's 2024 rate review mechanism filing, declaring existing rates to be unreasonable, adopting tariffs that reflect rate adjustments consistent with the negotiated settlement, finding the rates to be set by the attached settlement tariffs to be just and reasonable and in the public interest, approving an attachment establishing a benchmark for pensions and retiree medical benefits, requiring the company to reimburse ACSC's reasonable rate-making expenses, determining that this ordinance was passed in accordance with the requirements of the Texas Open Meetings Act, adopting a savings clause, declaring an effective date, and requiring delivery of this ordinance to the company and the ACSC's legal counsel. This ordinance was approved by 6-0 council vote on first reading on September 3rd, 2024.
Is there a motion?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Chase,
Yes.
Holmes.
Aye, that ordinance passes on second reading. The next item to consider is ordinance 2024-769. City Attorney Perdon.
Amending Section 5-32, Board Composition of Article 2, Animal Welfare Board of Chapter 5 Animals of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Waco, Texas, to change the composition of the board, providing a severability clause, providing a savings clause, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for an effective date, and finding and determining that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. This ordinance was approved by 6-0 council vote on first reading on September 3rd, 2024.
Is there a motion?
Move for approval on second reading.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Bearfield,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Aye.
Ewing,
Yes.
Borderoud, Chase, Holmes.
Aye, that ordinance passes on second reading. The next item to consider is ordinance 2024-770. City Attorney Perdon.
An ordinance amending Chapter 5 Animals of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Waco, Texas by 1, amending Section 5-34, Initiation of Proceedings of Article 2, Animal Welfare Board, 2, amending Article 6, Dangerous Animals, and 3, adding a new Article 11, Aggressive Dogs, to create an aggressive dog classification based on a dog's behavior towards domestic animals and livestock, and add regulations, procedures, and a penalty related to said classification, providing a severability clause, providing a savings clause, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for penalties, providing for an effective date, and finding and determining that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. This ordinance was approved by 6-0 council vote on first reading on September 3rd, 2024.
Is there a motion?
For approval.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? There being no discussion, please poll the council.
Yes.
Aye.
Ewing, Borderoud, Chase, Holmes.
Ordinance passes on second reading. The next item to consider is the hearing of visitors. During the hearing of visitors section of the agenda, we provide an opportunity for the public to present concerns or address issues that are not matters for consideration listed on the agenda. The council is unable to conduct a discussion, but will listen, ask staff to look into concerns, and provide follow-up. Please provide registration information so that staff can contact you if necessary. If you have handouts, please let us know at the beginning of your presentation, and staff will distribute those to the council. If you're unable to approach the podium due to physical limitations, a microphone is available to be brought to you. There are some registered speakers tonight, so when called to the podium, please state your name and address for the record. Each speaker must limit comments to 3 minutes. If you are speaking on behalf of a group of 10 or more individuals present, please have those persons stand at the beginning of your comments, and you will be given 10 minutes to address the council. Please note that if you stand in support of a person getting 10 minutes to speak, you are forfeiting your right to speak on that item. For any person addressing the council through the use of a translator, the speaking time will be doubled to accommodate the translation services. While public discourse is very important to this council, we have to maintain order in the meeting so that all persons may be heard and city business may be conducted. If so directed by me, the Sergeant-at-Arms will remove from this council meeting any person who, while addressing the council or while attending the city council meeting, makes personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks. If you become boisterous, or if you make unauthorized remarks from the audience, if you clap your hands, stomp your feet, whistle, yell, or make similar demonstrations. We've got several cards tonight, and the first one up is Ephraim Herring. As you hit the podium there, please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes. Mr. Herring.
My name is Steve Barry. I live at 1046 Chestnut. My complaint is going to be about 1046 Chestnut. I've been denied access to that property for 2,604 days. I got a letter on August 27th saying that the building official signed a certificate of occupancy dated July 24th, 2017. There's only one problem. If you look at your notes in your file, in y'all's file, you find out that that inspection was canceled on July 24th. There was no inspection done on July 24th, 2017. So I don't know where y'all got these dates from. It's all written in black and white on your files and from documentation I received from y'all. So my question still goes in, where'd that document come from? There was no inspection done. Therefore, by state law and by city ordinance, I'll be in violation of 28-90 for living in a house. So now I'm still looking at 2,604 days denied access to a house that I paid $109,000 to Neighborhoods Waco. The sad part about this is my mother passed away because in 2002, y'all tore her house down, which made her homeless. She was a widow of a Korean vet. So my question is, y'all talk about homelessness is, why'd y'all tear her house down? Nobody to this day can tell me why they tore her house down. Nobody to this day can tell me why they signed a certificate of occupancy that didn't even fit the requirements that y'all told me in 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 that the house had to be built in your own development guide. So come on, people. You denied a family access to a property for 8,263 days for not doing what y'all say y'all wanted us to do, but y'all not even doing y'all job. Let's be fair about this. You're taking away money. You're costing me money. And you're denying a family the proper civil rights of the property they own. God bless you. Be safe.
Thank you, Mr. Herring. Next up, we have Ken Willits. Mr. Willits, when you get to the podium, just state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes to address council.
Technology. Good evening, Ken Willits, 4324 Shady Glen Drive, Waco, Texas, District 5, the best district in the city. Because I am no longer allowed to go to the Humane Society or to the animal shelter, now called Pet Center, to volunteer like I've been for the past years, I have turned my efforts to the Animal ABC Clinic with their community outreach program with the trap and neutering. In the last week and a half, I have trapped and they have spayed or neutered and released 11 cats. Out of the 11 cats, 9 of them were females. In a year and a half, those 9 cats are going to generate over 2,000 cats. Do the math, gentlemen. 9 cats in a year and a half, 2,000. I can't find where the City of Waco website says free spay and neutering while supply lasts. I took the cats there today and they said, sorry, no more, we have no more funding. The city ordinance says to spay and neuter. Please find the funds for the ABC Clinic for all the dogs and cats in the City of Waco, or the 5 animal control officer trucks that say free spay and neutering should be changed to say free spay and neutering while supply lasts. There has been a city notice publication that says no kill status. Now let's talk about the Pet Center facility, previously known as the animal shelter. No kill status is an admirable goal, but it is less likely to happen moving forward with the city in charge. The community, I do not believe the community will stand for that. The community wants that no-kill status. Please see to it that the new pet circle maintains the status that the Humane Society worked so hard to maintain for the past years. Thank you for your time.
Willis, appreciate you. Next up is Holly Hornsby. Holly, great. Holly's here. Gotcha, yeah, you're good. Ms. Hornsby, when you get to the podium, please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes to address council.
I'm Holly Hornsby, 416 Randall Drive, Woodway, Texas. Hi, I'm Holly. I've lived here 6 years. I moved here after retiring from the United States Navy with 24 years. I have been around this world 3 times in countless states. Texas is by far one of the most callous states I have been in towards domesticated animals. It's rare I see a spay or neuter event. With the amount of veterans, especially Vietnam-era ones, I'm surprised there are not more programs to match a stray with a vet, along with a Bob Barker-esque initiative of spaying and neutering. That could help this small community. With the Humane Society splitting ways with Waco and all the horror stories that are out on the streets, as a volunteer and advocate for animal welfare, it's disappointing. We do not want to be a Marlin. We call on the city leadership to take responsibility and hold manager Gary Hyatt accountable to ensure the animals, the community, and the staff are treated with respect and care they deserve. The ongoing issue in the city's lack of transparency, lack of trust, continues and is absolutely unacceptable. If I'm going to stand here and tell you there are problems to look into, there are. I have no reason to waste your time or mine. Volunteers and former staff who have worked on site for months and even years are now being prevented from helping due to the city's failure to complete background checks. Why should volunteers and animals be penalized for administrative failures? The city should also waive unnecessary fees such as reuniting pets with their families. I mentioned transparency and honesty that starts with the honest number of animals euthanized weekly. There have been no updates on which animals are at risk or those needing urgent help due to illness, long stay, pregnancy, and other factors. Have dogs been euthanized in the last 10 days? If so, who? How can the public, taxpayers, help if they do not know? And that's not okay. The Humane Society was relentlessly pressured, often late in the day, to open 5 cages before closing time. Yet, for the past 2 weeks, there's been no transparency with the public. Please do not euthanize a dog because of long stay just to reduce your numbers. Find a home through adoption, foster, rescue, death should be the last resort. The no-kill movement has gained momentum across the country, and the Humane Society of Texas put Waco on the map as a city that aspires to end the pet homelessness. The Waco shelter must continue this mission. The people of Waco will not sit back and let the city become a slaughterhouse of healthy dogs and cats. Also, has anyone checked on the mental health of the person being directed to kill all of these animals? As a city, we must increase the spay and neuter efforts both on and off campus. Bradley Ford and Mayor Holmes, you have a loyal community of animal advocates who want to see positive change and can help you with this. The entire community will support you if you stand up for welfare of homeless animals. Let's work together to make the city of Waco a benchmark for all cities in Texas to emulate. Whew, here you go. Thank you. Thank you.
Ms. Hornsby, appreciate you. Next up is Anna Lesko, and Ms. Lesko, you're speaking on behalf of 10. Is that correct? Would those 10 people please rise, please stand up so we can get you all counted? Yeah, you can. I think we got you. We got it, Michelle? All right, we're good, thank you. Ms. Lesko, please state your name and address for the record, and you have 10 minutes to address council.
Great. 2000 South First Street. My name is Anna Lesko, and I know that I'm a fresh face here. So to give you a little bit of my background, I have a master's degree in geoscience, and I'm about to finish my PhD. I have 8 years research experience. I've conducted research at 2 national labs, and I've also have experience being a contracted researcher for the Cold Regions Research and Engineering Lab, which is underneath the U.S. Army. To de-stress from my career, my workload, I decided to volunteer at the animal shelter and hopefully walk some dogs and get some puppy love. And I certainly got a lot of love from the dogs. But as I got more involved, I realized that there were really concerning things going on with the management at the animal shelter. And I felt that it would be morally wrong to not speak up. And so I'm here today to talk to you about a new group that has been started within the community called Paw Village. okay? I believe you all have handouts. Sorry, I should have said that beforehand. Thank
We got 'em
you.
up here.
Yeah,
Everybody
so
have
if you
'em?
flip the page to who we are, our mission is essentially Paul Village is a group of volunteers dedicated to ensuring the city of Waco upholds a no-kill status and community transparency so all houseless pets can find their forever homes. If you switch to the next page, this is, Ken had already mentioned it, but I believe it's an anonymous editorial that was published that talks about the no-kill status being pretty much unachievable. I'll direct quote from it says, "No-kill status is an admirable goal, but it's less likely to happen moving forward with the city in charge." And so there's a big distrust growing in the community about the city's transparency and ability to run the Waco Animal Shelter, keep the no-kill status, and keep the treatment of these animals to a satisfactory level. So if you go to the next page, this community has historically fought against euthanasia since 2012. The Humane Society has collaborated with the city to keep live exit rates above 90%, which means if it's above 90%, you have a no-kill status. The new budget is significantly higher than what the Humane Society had, and you've increased the amount of employees at the Waco Animal Shelter and the business hours as well. And that's awesome. It's great to see. But if the city is not committing to a no-kill shelter with more resources than the Humane Society had, and the Humane Society was able to keep a no-kill status, what is going on? Like, that's just poor management. And I feel like we can do better. So if you turn to the next page, we want City Council, each City Council person, to publicly confirm to the community that the city-run Waco Animal Shelter will be returning to a kill shelter, if indeed that is the reality. So if you turn to another page, another reason why the community is feeling a massive distrust in the city and the management of the animal shelter is the lack of data transparency. And I know that other people have touched on it already, but if you look at this picture, this is what's available on the animal shelter website, okay? So you have shelter totals, and it's really mostly intake data, but there's no euthanasia rates. And quite frankly, anybody with data analyst experience will know that this is not data transparency. Actually, the chief of staff emailed me before I could do this presentation, about an hour before this presentation, and said that she linked a website with graphs and said, this is, all of our data. And it's still not data transparency because nowhere can you find euthanasia rates or historical, good historical data. So that leads me to my next point if you turn the page. So I believe it was last city council meeting, the animal shelter management compared itself to the Austin shelter, the Austin city shelter, and the Dallas one as well. If you go on their websites, you can be directed to a page that gives the animal ID, name, date of birth, outcome, intake, breed, color. There is a plethora of information that is given publicly and easily accessible. Not only that, but it has archived data as well that dates back years, and it includes the fiscal year report. That needs to be on the Waco Animal Shelter to really provide full transparency. And we want euthanasia rates as well, and we want reasons for euthanasia as well. So if you turn to the next page, I actually had to file an open records request and pay for it in order to access some of the data. And honestly, too, I don't have a picture of how the data was sent to me, but not only was I not sent a legend for kind of all of the columns, but it's very difficult to shift through the data. If you look at kennel occupancy, you can see for the last, from January to July 2024, there isn't much fluctuation in kennel occupancy. But if you turn the page to euthanasia based on behavior, you can see that there's really no correlation between the two. And in the month of April alone, euthanasia based on behavior was 69 dogs. That's more than a dog a day. So there needs to be more transparency in what you're calling behavior. Also, you know, it's extremely alarming when you talk to people who have previously worked at the shelter and they say that management has been barking at dogs or blowing air horns to illicit behavior to already traumatized dogs. In no reality is it okay for a human to do that, let alone a manager of an animal shelter, especially when you have months like April where they're putting down 69 dogs. And I'm happy to walk through any of the data that I have graphed. If you turn your next page to Rocco Sider, this is a dog. This is a picture of Rocco Sider when he arrived at the animal shelter. And he looks healthy, fairly happy, good-natured dog. If you turn to the next page, this is Rocco Sider after approximately 14 days in the clinic. Rocco had a blockage in his intestines, and with the appropriate health care, with the appropriate care provided to that dog should have never reached that state. In fact, Rocco is now alive. He's still alive, and he was rescued from the animal shelter. But the point I want to say is we need to increase the veterinary budget and provide these dogs with adequate care, because the city takes dogs away from people for a lot less offense, right? So we want Waco to be a city to believe in, not a city where animals go to die. And so that brings me to my last point, my last page, is what do we want? We want to believe, we want to know, we want to strongly agree that a no-kill shelter commitment from the city. We also want data transparency, including financial. As a taxpayer, that should be easily accessible on the website and not through an open records request. We need shelter and management accountability. And lastly, we would like a meeting with Mayor Holmes. This is a really heavy topic, and there's a lot of passionate people behind this topic. And as you can see, there's a lot of community members who are gravely concerned. And we would like a meeting with our representatives at Paul Village, because we have a lot of ideas, and I'm afraid that if Waco, the city of Waco, keeps heading down this path to the as it is, we don't want the Waco Animal Shelter to become the city's skeleton in the closet. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lesko. Appreciate your comments. Our last card tonight is Ms. Karen Eggets. Karen, you're up. When you get to the podium, please state your name and address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to address council.
Hi, Karen Eggets, 11 Kings Row, and you all have one handout from me. Tonight, I plan to talk about the positive things happening at our shelter, the beautiful landscaping and the clean yards, with a stark and wonderful contrast from the filthy yards we've seen for years. But yesterday, when I went to my shelter to see our dogs, I was reminded of the negative. While I was in the yard, Gary Hyatt stood there almost the entire hour watching me, and I provided you with a picture. I didn't know a public employee making $120,000 a year has an hour to stand around watching citizens pet dogs. Another volunteer was there yesterday, and it was the second time she's been on campus since the city took over. Gary did the same thing to her, stood there watching her. We both felt nervous and very unwelcome. We are citizens who have spent 3 years volunteering, and to have Gary Hyatt watch us like we were criminals and treat us like we were trespassers was unnerving. The other volunteer asked a kennel tech to see a dog. Kennel techs clean kennels, they do not handle dogs. Gary is letting inexperienced kennel techs get dogs out to show to the public. Having spent time with this dog and knowing he gets excited and jumpy, the volunteer went with the kennel tech to get the dog. The kennel tech got the dog out of his kennel, and the volunteer walked the dog out of the kennel as the vet tech closed the door. When exiting our hall, seeing Gary Hyatt rush towards her, I watched him. The volunteer told Gary that lady took him out. Gary asked, "Where is she? She's supposed to be with you." Gary then told the kennel tech, "You have to stay with them." The kennel tech said, "I was never told that." The people who are at the shelter handling dogs and showing them to the public do not have training, which is dangerous and a huge liability to the city. As you may know, Ryan Holt approved overtime to city employees to go to the shelter. While I appreciate Ryan's efforts, it makes no sense to use my tax dollars to pay overtime to city employees when experienced volunteers will happily do it for free. These city's employees are not trained to safely handle the dogs, yet they're handling dogs while experienced volunteers are denied access to our campus. It makes no sense. Many volunteers are waiting to come back to campus, not getting an answer from Melissa Sheldon. We called HR and we were told our background checks were done and sent to the volunteer coordinator. When will we be allowed back on campus? And why is the city paying overtime to inexperienced, untrained citizens to be on campus and not letting experienced, trained volunteers back on campus? It's incredibly dangerous and it makes no sense. Another issue I want to note is that 2 experienced Humane Society employees applied and interviewed with the city. One of them, who has years of extensive animal behavior experience, was asked by Gary Hyatt, "How much experience do you have?" Coming from a police commander with 0 animal welfare and behavior experience who now oversees our shelter, I thought he was joking. But I know him well enough to know he wasn't joking. You can throw all the money you want at this campus, but until it's run by an experienced shelter director, you're doing this community and our animals a huge disservice. Badly, you stated you put Gary there for a reason.
Thank you, Ms. Higgins. Thank you, Ms. Higgins.
What he's doing is intimidating
Ms. Higgins, your
citizens,
time is up.
volunteers, and creating dissension at our shelter. Thank you.
Anyone else present who would like to speak during the hearing of visitors? Seeing no one, we will now close the hearing of visitors. Are there any announcements the council would like to make?
Mr. Mayor, I know that, I think we talked about this a little earlier, but today is National Voter Registration Day, and I would encourage all of our people here in Cyberland that you have until October 7th. If you have not registered to vote, there are several entities around the community that are registering people to vote. We are in a election season. I mean, all elections are important, especially to folks like us. But this is a very important time, and I encourage everyone to make sure you exercise your right to vote. I was out this morning on MCC's campus, and we registered a whole stack full of kids, and they had lots of questions, and they didn't know, and were, well, I don't feel informed, and, all we could do is say, hey, well, these are the resources that are available to get information. The League of Women Voters, and none of it's partisan because it's a nonpartisan seat, but League of Women Voters, NAACP Project VEER, all of those things are available as resources to find out information about this upcoming election. If you don't have a vote, you don't have a voice, so please exercise your right to vote.
Absolutely echo
I'll just
that.
tack onto that and say that voter rolls are occasionally scrubbed.
There were 7,000 scrubbed from District 1.
So please, if you are unsure if you're a registered voter, even if you think you are, check your status before October 7th. And if you are registered to vote and you don't know if you're registered to vote here in McLennan County, update that before the 7th as well. A quick anecdote, because he was here this evening, our former mayor is the person that took me to make sure I was registered to vote in McLennan County after I'd lived here for some time and attended Baylor to make sure I could vote in a local election. So.
Any other council comments? We will now go to the next item of council reports and requests for scheduling future agenda items. Do we have any future agenda items we need to get on the future agendas? Okay, that's the last item. We got to hit executive meetings. So right now I'm going to recess the regular session for executive session as read into the record by the city secretary at 7:07 p.m.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council will go into executive session in accordance with the following provisions. Real property, Texas Open Meetings Act, Section 551.072, Downtown Development Project being the mixed-use development on city-owned and adjacent properties near City Hall. We are now in executive session.